What do you remember about winning the three-point shooting contest back in 1996?
I think the first thing that jumps out, well, two, I would say. Number one, I was a guy because I was undrafted and I went through the CBA in Europe and I was till some 10 days and cut and sent back, and I was starting to come into my own, and then I got to Washington that year and I really, found a comfort zone. So for me, that was a lot more than a shooting competition. That was validation as a player. And getting on a national stage and letting people know. And I was very confident going there that weekend that I was going to win that thing. So that was the first thing. It meant a lot to me because of the road I had traveled as a player. The second thing it meant was, my daughter was born just a week before my first child was born. So I remember going there and, basically doing that for her. And it's ironic because I remember doing the interview after I won it. And they give you a check for $20,000. I don't know what it is now. It was $20,000 at that time. And they asked me what I was going to do with the money, and I said it's going into a college fund for my daughter. And don't you know, Dan, that thing grew enough over the years. My daughter graduated last May from college, and she's now a second-grade school teacher. And that check went a long way to paying for her college education.
Who was your biggest competition?
That year?
Yeah.
Well, Glenn Rice was the defending champion. And so he was the guy that I was kind of targeting. Steve Kerr was in that competition. I think Del Curry was in that. Dennis Scott. Ooh. It was a pretty good field. Yeah. I remember being in the locker room beforehand, and Cliff Robinson was in it. And Cliff Robinson said, I was being kind of quiet, I had headphones on, I was just getting ready, going through mentally. And I remember him saying, hey, man, you're not talking much over there. You feel a little tight? And I remember saying, all the talking in the world is not going to put the ball in the basket. And went out there, and I felt the balls. I remember walking out there. The balls were brand new. They were right out of the box. Slick. You know what I'm talking about. Slick, that glossy, plasticky feeling.
Yeah.
And I was getting a little nervous because we were at the Alamo Dome, man. It was a big venue, and I'm like, okay, these balls are kind of slick. Your hands get sweaty. It doesn't slide off right. Once I started to warm up, I got into a really good rhythm in warm-ups, and I felt very confident. The other thing that had going for me, I got to shoot first, which was cool because I didn't have to wait a long time after warm-up sitting there with all the commercial breaks and all that stuff. I could go right into it, and I got off to a great start. I think I had 23 in the first round, and I was off and flying, and I was very confident I was going to win it.
For more Dan Patrick Show, tune into Audience Channel 239 on DirecTV. Stream for free on BR Live or download the Dan Patrick Show app.